Welcome to the Deep Dive, the place where we turn massive stacks of research into actionable, high-impact insights just for you.
And today, we're wading into what is, strategically, one of the most vital product categories on the planet.
Digital dating.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's hard to overstate its importance. These apps, they're trying to solve this fundamental human problem of connection, of love, of finding a life partner.
But they're doing it through a thoroughly engineered, very commercial lens.
Absolutely. And the numbers, they're just staggering.
By 2019, you're talking over 200 million active users globally.
And in the U.S., a majority of new couples now meet online. It's not a niche thing anymore.
No, not at all. It's become the primary relational infrastructure for millions of people.
So our mission for this deep dive is not to, complain about your bad dates. We're moving beyond that.
Right.
We want to analyze the strategic architecture, the core design philosophies, and really the underlying psychology of these apps.
Exactly. We'll be breaking down how platforms like Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, and even the niche players like Field are, they're intentionally designed.
And monetized. That's the key part.
And monetized, yes, to shape your behavior. So you're going to understand the business model that's fueling your search for companionship.
And that includes this really surprising conflict between what people say they want in a partner and who the data shows they actually choose.
Okay, so let's start with the business environment itself. This market is it's intensely saturated.
It's a classic commodity business.
A commodity business, right? Everyone's essentially offering the same thing, proximity and photos.
So how do you survive in that environment?
Yeah.
You have to create a monopoly, even if it's just a monopoly on a feeling.
Like Peter Thiel's 0 to 1 idea?
Precisely. You have to carve out a unique proprietary hook. It's not about better tech, it's about a better philosophy.
So let's start with the baseline, that's Tinder.
It has to be Tinder. It was the original genius, really. It focused on speed, visual dominance, that rapid swiping model.
And it's still the most recognized and downloaded app worldwide. We're talking over 80 million users. It just made discovery simple and gamified.
But that speed, that gamification, it created its own toxicity.
Yeah.
And so along came Bumble with a very clear counterposition, what we call the empowerment hook.
The idea that women have to make the first move in heterosexual matches.
Yes, and that was a brilliant strategy.
It directly addressed those major pain points, like unwanted advances.
And it was incredibly effective, especially in the early years. It helped Bumble get a much higher than average female user base, something like 40%.
People started calling it the first attempt at a feminist dating app.
It gave women this crucial sense of perceived control. They decided who got to enter their inbox.
But perceived control can be a fragile thing.
It can. And fast forward to 2024, and Bumble introduces this opening moves feature.
Which, just to be clear, lets women set a prompt that men can then respond to. So the man is writing the first real message.
And that immediately created tension. A lot of users saw it as deeply regressive.
It felt like it undermined the whole original concept.
Exactly. It felt like the company was maybe prioritizing engagement metrics over its own philosophical bug.
Which raises a big question for you, the user, doesn't it? Is that philosophy genuine, or was it just marketing?
Now compare that to Hinge, which took the authenticity.
Their whole mission, famously, is designed to be deleted.
Which is just a brilliant counterintuitive tagline for a business that wants to keep you on the app.
It is. And Hinge does this by requiring these detailed, personality-driven profiles. You have to answer prompts like, the key to my heart is.
And this commitment to thoughtfulness, it actually produced a really important design insight for them.
What was that?
They tested their most compatible feature notifications. And get this, they found that when they removed the match's profile picture from the first email,
the click-through rates went up.
Dramatically. They increased.
Wow, so that suggests that if you force someone to actually look at the full profile, at the substance before making a purely visual judgment,
they make more thoughtful decisions. It mitigates that immediate bias that the photo-first interface really amplifies.
Okay, so then you have the really niche players.
Right, platforms that succeed by defining a very specific culture, like Field.
Field really carved out its monopoly in the ethical non-monogamy, polyamory, and kink-aware community.
It's a niche, but its specificity is its success. The culture there is often described as having this unique maturity and decorum that's just so rare online.
Probably because users are forced to be so straightforward about complex intentions right from the start.
There's less room for misinterpretation.
And since Field and that community have their own vocabulary, let's quickly define a few terms for you. So So you'll hear about a triad, which is a relationship between three people.
And a quad, which is four people, often two couples connecting.
And then there's a concept you see discussed all the time, couples privilege.
Right. The inherent advantages an established couple has when they start dating other people, because of their existing stability and communication, just shows how different platforms create entirely different ecosystems. Okay, so now let's connect these different architectures to actual user behavior, because the sources reveal this really profound and frankly shocking gendered experience.
And it starts with the stats.
It does. The disparity in selectivity is immense. So women typically swipe right on only 4.5% to 5% of profiles.
4.5%.
While men, by contrast, swipe right on roughly 60%. 60.
So you're saying if you're a man on these apps, you're facing instant rejection 95% of the time. That must make the experience feel less like dating and more like
applying for a job you can never get an interview for.
Exactly.
That's the cognitive experience it creates. So let's unpack why women display this hyperselectivity.
And we have two main explanations here, right? Starting with the deep past.
Right, there's the evolutionary perspective. The idea is that women are traditionally more selective because of the higher biological investment in reproduction.
A man's potential was limitless. A woman's was constrained.
And that selective strategy, it seems to persist today, even with modern birth control, fundamentally changing that risk calculation.
But the second factor is just as critical, maybe more so in today's world.
Safety and socialization, absolutely. Women have to constantly prioritize personal safety in a way that, men generally do not.
So they are highly averse to partners who seem hostile, arrogant, abusive, or depressed.
The visual cues are everything. A profile that suggests trust and safety, maybe it shows some genuine vulnerability or successful social integration, is always going to be preferred over, say, a macho glowering face.
And that risk assessment, it translates directly into a massive amount of invisible work.
That's the emotional labor, what some call the logistics of desire.
And women shoulder that as
Well, yeah. Because men are swiping so indiscriminately, the burden falls on women to clarify intentions, to interpret contradictory signals, to revive conversations that just lose momentum.
They have to do all the heavy lifting to figure out if a connection is real or just a low-effort volume play.
It's exhausting. And it just mirrors what we see in the real world, where women are often expected to be the custodians of the relationship.
This emotional strain is just compounded by the design of the platform.
It even affects how men signal.
Yeah.
Interestingly, the data shows that men who are specifically looking for long-term mates are more likely to show dependence in their profiles.
Like children or pets.
Especially dogs, yeah. Because it signals a capacity for investment and reliability.
Oh, we can't ignore harassment in all this. It's a huge issue that just amplifies the stress.
A pervasive issue. 4 in 10 adults report experiencing it on dating apps.
And that has to affect where people choose to spend their time.
It does. We looked at sentiment analysis scores for harassment. Hinge actually scored the most negatively at negative 1.000. Tinder was in it.
But Bumble was perceived more favorably.
Right, at 98.444. And the most likely explanation is that women initiation feature. It allows for greater discretion right at the start, combined with their internal safety tools. So, if safety and selectivity define the female experience and constant rejection defines the male experience, you have to ask why people put up with it.
Why endure the frustration and the labor?
And that brings us to the core psychological tension of this whole thing. The gap between your stated preferences and your revealed preferences.
Seibu gap.
The Seidu gap, exactly.
Which sounds like a very polite way of saying we're all hypocrites when it comes to dating.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
It's the difference between what we claim to want and what our actual behavior reveals, like someone who says they want to be a minimalist.
But their shopping cart history tells a completely different story.
Exactly. So in the dating world, women often state that they prioritize soft traits, kindness, warmth, emotional availability.
The things that are socially desirable to say you want.
Of course, you want to project that virtuous self-image. But the revealed preferences, the swiping data, that 4.5%, they prioritize physical attractiveness, high social status, dominance-coded traits.
So that hyperselectivity is really focused on a very small group of partners who score high on those visible metrics.
This internal friction is rooted in what evolutionary psychologists call the dual mating strategy. We are biologically wired to want two different things at the same time.
And the apps just exploit this.
They absolutely do. On one hand, you're searching for good genes, heritable fitness, often for short-term mate.
And on the other, you're looking for good dad's investment, stability, reliability for a long-term mate.
And those two sets of traits often pull you in completely opposite directions.
And the apps capitalize on that friction to keep you on the platform.
This is where monetization comes in. Paywalls and premium features are designed to validate your stated preference. You can buy filters to search your education level, or height, or religion.
The good dad investment traits. It makes you feel like you're being really thoughtful and deliberate in your search. It's like virtue signaling.
Exactly. But while you're busy filtering for kindness, the algorithm is often secretly pushing those top-tier profiles, the ones with the highest right swipe rates, the good genes markers, to the top of your stack.
It's a bait and switch. The app keeps you engaged with the high-status profiles because that generates the most swipes, which keeps you logging in even if it leads to disappointment.
This is a textbook example of enshittification.
A great term.
It is. The idea that successful tech platforms start by offering a fantastic user experience to get to scale.
But once they have you hooked, they inevitably start pursuing profit-driven goals that degrade that very experience.
For dating apps, that means moving from free swiping to putting basic functions behind a paywall, like seeing who already liked you.
The company's incentive to find you a match quickly is in direct conflict with its financial incentive to keep you scrolling forever.
And that brings us back to the interface itself. That rapid swipe, because it makes the profile image so prominent, it can amplify our implicit biases.
Including racial bias.
Yes, even when users consciously say they don't care about race, the interface makes snap visual judgment the main filter. And that just magnifies those biases exponentially. So what we've really uncovered here is that modern dating success isn't just about navigating potential partners. It's about navigating these carefully engineered digital architectures.
Architectures that magnify both our deepest instincts, like that dual mating strategy, and our biggest societal challenges.
Gender, labor, safety, it's all in there.
It's a really complex feedback loop. So let's end by returning to that critical finding about design influencing bias.
Right.
We noted that the traditional swipe interface amplifies bias by putting the picture first. But research shows you can reduce the effects of that bias by simply reversing the order of information.
So you show the compatibility questions and the personality details first. And you only reveal the profile picture later on in the interaction.
Which raises a really profound and, I think, important question for you, the user, to think about. If these simple design choices can so dramatically influence who we select and potentially reduce bias, what should the priority of these platforms be?
Should it be maximum user engagement for monetization, which favors that visual first swipe?
Or should their priority be designing for genuine, unbiased compatibility, even if it means you match slower and maybe leave the app sooner? Something to mull over the next time you open an app. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.